it's time to go to and talk to the owner and general manager of the Cowboys, brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. His name is Jerry Jones. Jerry, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Reggie, Mike, and great to be on, and understand we've got a little crowd in there for you, but excited to be on here this, I guess, next to the last day of the year, and getting ready for the Cotton Bowl, getting ready for all of that for the remainder of the day here.
You bring up the Cotton Bowl, and obviously this time of bowl season, there's a whole bunch of these on. How many of these do you get to get into? Obviously, Cowboy season is full on and raging. How much of the college football portion of this are you able to pay attention to?
Well, first of all, the Cotton Bowl is dear to me. I got to play in the Cotton Bowl, and we played the last game that I ever played. I weighed about 180 pounds as pulling offensive guard, but still, I have great memories, and we won that game, and we're the only undefeated team in the country, and that really inspired me to want to have a life in football and have a life in sports, and was something that never left me. So I've got a good feeling about the Cotton Bowl.
Well, Jerry, I know a lot of times now, if you're not playing, and I call it the Final Four, obviously the 2 games on New Year's Day to make it to the national championship, we see quite a few of these high draft pick prospects not playing in these bowl games. What would be your thought or recommendation to those young men?
Well, I would say that it's another look at them against obviously a different competition than they had during their regular careers. It's a high-profile, highly competitive game, and one that brings with it a certain presence, a national presence, that kind of interest. Gives you a lot of read on a player, and I think it does give you a read on a player. You look so much at what's inside people, not just how fast they run the 40, or you certainly can look at their careers on tape or be familiar with them having scouted them. But I think it tells you a lot about somebody to play in these games and competitively compete in these games. I understand the idea that the risk-reward relative to getting injured, but it's impressive to me to see a player go out there and compete. Let me say this. Dak Prescott, the one thing about him was the fact that he will compete. He would when he was coming out of college, and he didn't back away from anything, whether it's a Senior Bowl or what. So I think you get a read for what's inside sometimes on these guys playing or not playing.
Now, Jerry, you mentioned that we have a nice crowd here at Buffalo Wild Wings where we're hanging out, but it's not going to be anywhere near AT&T Stadium tomorrow evening. Obviously, big game, but also Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'd love to talk about here, but what's your fondest memory of working with Jimmy?
Oh, I think, as you know, we go all the way back to college when we were initially playing as sophomores and juniors. And when we get together, we'll often refer back to a couple of things that happened. We've got a little smile. We've got some things we smile about that went on when we were in college, as anybody would. But that's where I got to know him. And, of course, when he came to Dallas with me, when I bought the team and he joined me here, I said at that time that Jimmy was worth 5 Heisman trophies. Now, I've got hyperbole and I've got those type of ways I express myself, but I had that kind of really appreciation for his skill level and had really hoped that would transcend and did into the pro level. But we both got to be a part of something that changed our lives. We had gotten to be a part of something in our collegiate career that changed our lives. And I'm not exaggerating. And so somebody I knew, somebody that I felt like I could really get in and work with, and we both were getting in something that we hadn't had experience in. Neither one of us had been in pro football. And so it was a new thing, and obviously things didn't go that the way we had it planned those first few years. But those are the kinds of things that bond you. Those are the kinds of things that give you resolve, and ultimately turned out for an experience that just is an experience of a lifetime. So I have nothing but appreciation for him. You know, a lot of people think that we're contentious. The facts are that I don't think we've ever had a contentious meeting in our life. Really, I don't think we ever have. And those weren't that wasn't the relationship at all.
So, Jerry, you obviously know the coach on the other side for the Lions, Dan Campbell, former Dallas Cowboy. They're having a great year. You can take this in different places, but did you know that Dan Campbell was going to be a future head coach in the NFL when he was a tight end for the Cowboys?
Well, I don't know that I would think that head coach. I will say, I don't know that I wouldn't think head coach either, because he has very similar aura and very similar way that he approaches the game as Jason Witten. And, of course, when I think of Jason Witten, I see someone that could potentially be a great head coach at any level. And, of course, he is at the high school level right now. But those guys, their body language speaks to football. And they don't know the easy way. There's an old adage in football. It's called running around the block. And the idea is that if somebody's trying to block you, don't run around it, because that means that's where the ball carrier will go if you run around. You take the path of resistance, the path of the most resistance, not the least resistance. That's Dan Campbell. To me, I hate to usually get in trouble comparing people, but Jason Witten never, one time, and Dan didn't either, take the path of least resistance. That's the most important quality in my mind mentally that a football coach or a football player can have.
Now, Jerry, earlier this morning on these airwaves, Coach Mike McCarthy said that one of the things that he's learned about himself this year was, as a play caller, just, maybe keep it simple more often. What have you learned about your head coach this year and your team this season thus far? He's
done outstanding. He's the hardest worker. He's the busiest person in the organization. It's a big job, head coach as well as the coordinator that calls the plays. There's no adage. If you to call the plays, you need to install the plays. You need to be the installer to be the caller. And, of course, that takes a lot of time. And he has that kind of respect from the team. He leads because of that. And, of course, Mike is a proven coach that has gone up through the ranks, earned his stripes. He's smart. And he has a genuineness about him that the players follow. I can't say enough about the job he's doing, and we're in no small part pushed up here. I call it being pushed up. We're in a position with a fairly good health. We're in a position to really do some good when we get into the playoffs. This is, of course, a game that, under the circumstances with having lost the last two, that we want to, we have all the incentive in the world to let it all hang out, so to speak. And for all the reasons, Mike really will espouse to that kind of effort against these Detroit Lions. We need to do whatever it takes to win this ball game.
So obviously Detroit has a lot of star players. I was listening to Marcus Spears speak very highly of Aiden Hutchinson. Is that a player that worries you tomorrow night?
Absolutely he does. He's hard to block, and he has to be accounted for when the offense thinks about running a play. And that's all the more reason to hope that we have a full complement in our offensive line back, Tyron Smith, and get that continuity back. Anytime we haven't had Tyron, we've struggled, and so hopefully we'll have him tomorrow. But, yes, Hudson bothers me.
You said hopefully. About how confident are you that you will have Tyron Smith tomorrow evening?
Well, I feel good. I feel good, but I don't know. But I will tell you, I feel good about it. They're feeling good about it across the board. Trainers, coaches, Tyron, they're all feeling good about it.
On the other side, Ross St. Brown is having a great year at wide receiver. Detroit runs the ball up the middle. What will be the concentration of the defense to stop what first?
Well, I think that we will, first of all, have to respect that quarterback who I've always respected. We thought a lot of him. I remember being at his private workouts out there in San Francisco and watched him work out then and thought he was just a natural thrower, and really thought highly of him enough that would have possibly made him quarterback of the Cowboys if things had been different and things had fallen that way. So Goff is somebody that we've got to really deal with. And, I just think they're an overall complete team, and I don't know that any part of it on the field makes you comfortable.
Now, Jerry, this defense, to start of the season, it seemed like, and honestly for the last few years, it seems like they've gotten takeaways like water, and it seems that that's dried up a little bit. Is there anything in particular in that you see, or is that something that you anticipate maybe coming back soon? Well,
I see the result of it, and when you don't have those takeaways, it's an uphill battle, especially if you're making the kinds of mistakes that are the equivalent of takeaway. That fumble we had at the goal line was very damning and hurt, but that's what takeaways do. And so we play for takeaways. We play for those big plays. We just got to, and you need to count on them. They're a big part of compromising or minimizing the other team's attributes. You get those turnovers, that's a big swing.
So Micah Parsons has spoken a lot about the lack of holding calls against him. I asked Brian Broaddus, who looks at the film tremendously, and he says he has a right to complain. He's getting held a lot. What can you do as a general manager and an owner to try to help out that situation and get the calls that Micah seems to be validated in what he should be getting?
We have a lot of things in place. Stephen Jones is on the competition committee and has great communication with everybody involved. And certainly we're vocal with everybody concerned as to the issue. And I think it has everything to do with Micah's skill level. And I think he creates a unique situation regarding the philosophy of calling holding calls. And that's about all I'll say about it. But the point is that I, too, believe he ought to be getting more holding calls.
It's one of those things, Jerry, where I'm obviously former baseball player, where a lot of times, sometimes a pitching coach or manager would tell me, hey, let me take care of the umpire. If they're screwing you over, you do your job. I'm going to do my job in trying to protect you and get the calls correct. Is that something that Coach McCarthy or Dan Quinn or somebody like you have said, Micah, let us try to take care of that and you don't worry about it?
Well, I don't know that that's enough. I think you want to encourage Micah to continue his play style, and I'm not really worried about that. That's built in him. So the big thing is just keep on keeping on. Don't change that. Don't change that style, and give us reason to and him reason to complain. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. Matter of fact, it's all good. And so we've just got to make sure that equitably that he is being shown for what he is. We used to really spend a lot of time. DeMarcus Ware looked like he was offside every snap. It was because he was so quick. And he really, that count, when it came, boy, he didn't anticipate it. He just was quick off the ball. And so we had to continually remind officials that he's not offsides. He's just quick when the ball is snapped. And so we just need to continue pushing. and that's a team effort. That's not a assigned effort or to necessarily say to Micah, we'll take care of that, because we just got to make sure that Micah gets his due as to his skill level relative to this holding matter.
Jerry, you've made note of how the physicality of this team is something that you guys were concerned about coming into the season, that you made efforts to address. But this week, you let go of linebacker Rashawn Evans in order to, accommodate Matt Waletzko coming back from injured reserve. What made you confident in being able to make that move when you have kind of a light linebacker room right now?
Well, the main thing is that we needed the depth in the offensive line, and fortunate to have it. Waletzko's been really improving. And we have other depth there that we need. Unquestionably, that's to me, that's why you have a practice squad. That's why you have the overall depth that you have, and you're continually adjusting that, either from picking someone up in free agency or from your practice squad. And that's what that was a case of. We needed the depth more than we needed him at linebacker, obviously, or wouldn't have done it.
So, Jerry, my last question to you is, we just celebrated Christmas. Was there a favorite Christmas present that you received this year, or a favorite Christmas present that you gave this year?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm having lots of fun with, always do, these grandkids of mine. They're not kids anymore, they're young adults. And I can't get my hands around them. They've got more coming at me than you can imagine. They have a lot of fun with me. They have a very I'm glad they are comfortable with me, but I get a lot of tricks played on me, and have a lot of fun. I'm capable of tricking them back too. So we have a lot of fun. We get to spend time. I get to spend time with them because of the football, the Cowboys, things like that. I'm a very lucky man when it comes to spending time with his family.
Jerry, right before we let you go here, do you have can you give us a little insight into the Jimmy Johnson Ring of Honor ceremony? Anything special maybe coming up?
Well, again, thank you for asking that again, and it's going to be great to see. Going to be heavily participated by ex-players that played on those teams, and certainly looking forward to seeing some of the staff. Particularly interesting that his crew from Fox, this is a ESPN game, ABC ESPN game, but the Fox crew is going to be here at the game to recognize their affinity for Jimmy and their years of working together. So it's just a great group. They mean a lot to Jimmy. The Fox crew does. And, of course, obviously his former players and coaches mean a lot to him. And then from everybody's perspective, it'll just feel good to remember that we got to be a part of something that was probably bigger than any individual. And no one appreciates that more than Jimmy. So it'll be a great day. I hope we're doing our part and have to do a good job with Detroit. That'd be very important to the atmosphere out here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the team getting it done on the field as well. Jerry, we appreciate your time every week, and we look forward to talking to you in the new year.
You bet, guys. Let's get these lines, all right?